Sarah Spain and Fitz, 6 to 9 Eastern on ESPN, and also around the horn. Sarah is everywhere, including right here on Big Board Sports this morning with myself and Brian Mariano filling in for Chris Honorado. Good morning, Sarah. Roger Weiland in Albany on 104.5 The Team ESPN Radio. How are you?
Good. How are you?
We are fantastic. Talking NBA basketball a little bit. Sarah watched the Knicks last night. And I guess am I watching a team that is tanking? That seems to be the theme these days with teams that are going nowhere, and one of those would be the New York Knicks. Where do you stand on teams like the Knicks tanking the rest of the season?
This is a tough one because I think the NBA has a problem on its hands in terms of making sure the regular season feels important, especially the teams that are already out of it. But at the same time, they've created a system that incentivizes tanking. So I'm not sure how they expect teams not to do it. You know, they're changing up the 2019 lottery rules to see if that can kind of fix things. They're talking about what I think would be a terrible idea of doing a play-in tournament for the lower seeds on each side of the conferences, which I think creates a whole new set of issues. I think in the end, you just have to find ways to create more parity in the league so that it's less obvious from the start of the season who's going to be there at the end. But that's above my pay grade. I'm glad I'm not the one in charge of fixing it.
Yeah, I mean, after the game last night, Jeff Hornacek, Knicks head coach, conceded that winning is not the priority anymore, but he did say it was developing young players. I could buy into that. But a Knicks fan going to a game going, all right, look, we are still giving 110% effort here. We're just playing young guys right now and seeing them mature and get better. If we win the game, great. If we don't win the game, it's not the end of the world. That maybe that's the approach in the mindset of a fan who's going to Madison Square Garden looking to buy a ticket.
Yeah, because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a Bulls fan, and they've done a pretty good job this year of being bad while also being entertaining. And I think that that's really what a good fan would hope for, right? If you know the sport, you don't want your team to be good if they've got no shot. But you also don't want to watch garbage. And I think there's a real disconnect between watching professional athletes and realizing that they're not trying, because if you're an athlete yourself or you're just a competitive person, the idea of going out there and, you know, loafing around just doesn't feel right. So there are very creative ways that they have to go about losing, but still trying and not making their players worse or getting them accustomed to not giving it 100%.
Sarah Spain of Spain and Fitch. You can hear her every night here on 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio from 6 to 9. Sarah, now we're talking about the Oscars coming up and 3 billboards. Now there's 3 billboards in Philly trying to get LeBron to come and play in Philly with all of their draft picks that they have picked up over the years. Do you see this actually working, and do you see maybe other franchises trying to do this with other free agents in the near future?
First of all, I just watched the actual 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri last night, and I had to watch 5 other things afterwards before I could go to sleep. It was super disturbing, much more disturbing than the billboards. Yeah, this LeBron billboard thing. I don't know if you guys remember when Dan Le Batard got the billboards for LeBron thanking him or telling him, you know, you're welcome from Miami for those rings when he went back to Cleveland. So this seems to be a thing with people. This is obviously a different end goal from the people here making these. I thought it was pretty good. I thought they did a nice job. It was kind of subtle, but got the message across. I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think LeBron's going to look at billboards and say, you know what, I think Philly. But, you know, if you've got the disposable income and you want to put a good word in for your team, why not?
We're going around the horn, if you will, because that's a show that Sarah Spain is on. So let's go around the horn here a little bit and dive into what was the big topic last week when FBI documents revealed teams and players caught up in the corruption investigation. We're talking Duke, North Carolina, Texas, Kentucky, Michigan State, USC, among the schools that were mentioned. What do you make of this? Where do you think it's going to go from here, Sarah? And do you think there will be anything done between now and, say, the end of the NCAA tournament? March Madness Selection Sunday is right around the corner.
You know, it's interesting. Bill Walton was calling that Arizona game, and he so dramatic. This is one of the lowest points of my life, right? This gets down to the heart and soul of every being, as if he hadn't heard of this going on forever and might have not even been involved in it at UCLA, right? And then on the other hand, we had Jeff Goodman on our show last night and said he was sort of nonchalant to the point of saying, I mean, I guess this has been going on so long, I don't think much is going to happen or change. I think I'm somewhere in the middle. I think when you get the FBI involved and you're dealing with fraud and bribery and crossing state lines and there's actual jail time at play, you will wake people up to the idea that you've created a system that kind of like tanking incentivizes people to do things that you don't want them to, right? And so unless you fix the system, you're going to keep coming back to this. And I think the difference here is that cherry-picking one or two people that got sloppy with compliance or otherwise in the past has resulted in us pointing the finger at those people, but then returning to status quo. And when there's so many teams and so many players simultaneously being pointed at, and the possibility for it affecting the product of March Madness, which is their moneymaker, I think there might be a larger push for change. Not from the NCAA. I think they'll try their best to clear players as quickly as possible, drag their feet on any action so that they can get through March Madness without having the big programs affected. And then when people stop paying as much attention in the offseason, try to shake out where they want to punish people. And then go back to the way things have always been. But I think that's because the NCAA has they get billions of dollars right now to keep the system as it is. I think there's got to be an uprising from players, sponsors, everybody else to create a system wherein it's fair to the people actually doing the work, which is the players.
Well, look, I mean, Miles Bridges already donated $40 to. This is the different levels.
It's all good.
Yeah, you get $40 to charity.
So absurd.
So absurd. I couldn't agree more. To compensate for his meal. I mean, that part of it's ridiculous. Now, then you get Sarah to the Sean Miller part of it, and it sounds like he's in a heap of trouble.
Yeah, I think he's toast. And rightfully so. Listen, I think the payers should be played. I think there needs to be a better system. I think Andy Staples of SI has the best system out there. It's an Olympic model where all the schools continue paying tuition, room, and board. They do exactly what they've always done. And then on top of that, anyone can pay the players whatever they think the market demands. It can be boosters. It could be a local car dealership. It could be people making shirts with their name on it. Whatever they want to pay them, whatever the market demands and whatever they earn, whether that's an investment because they want them to stay at their school, whether that's just, a booster because, whether it's an agent who thinks that they'll be able to make good on it when they get to the NBA, doesn't matter. Maybe it'll be too much money at the beginning, but it'll eventually shake itself out, and people won't invest in players that don't pan out, and schools won't invest unless they're making money off of it. That, to me, feels like the right solution because you're going to keep getting Sean Millers, and you're going to keep getting Aytons, and you're going to keep getting all of it. Everyone's just going to be afraid for a little bit, and then it's going to shake back to what it always has been, unless the FBI keeps their foot on the gas.
Sarah Spain from Spain and Fitz, 6 to 9 on ESPN Radio. Now, Sarah, I was listening last night, and you and Jason Fitzsimmons are talking about weird eating habits now. Talking about pancakes, eating pancakes without syrup, and weird. Like, how did this come about, and what are some weird eating habits that you discussed?
Well, it's Jason Fitz. It's Ian Fitzsimmons and Jason Fitz, and they've actually offered to mud wrestle each other to fight for who gets to use the nickname Fitz. And without ever having to mud wrestle, they decided that Fitz would get to keep his own name, and Fitzsimmons has to stick with the long one. The weird eating habits. Surprisingly, people were not as disturbed by me eating straight corn out of the can. I don't think that's weird. I think it's delicious. People were a little more concerned about me eating a bowl of grilled onions with barbecue sauce on it. I have not done that in a while, though. It has been quite some time. That was more of an early 20s. Just, I've got an onion. Why not grill it up, throw it in a bowl, eat it like spaghetti? I'm getting better as I become more of an adult.
Yeah, but I mean, even some things like people laugh. I have a roommate of mine who just eats hot dogs without anything on them. No mustard, no ketchup, no relish.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, that's weird to me. Like you had the hot dog and bun. What's the point? You need to have something to go with it. I've never heard of anyone other than him to eat a hot dog without any sort of topping on it. It's like eating a hamburger with just the meat and the bun. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I don't want to get into my eating habits.
At least 2 people messaged me last night that they were having just frozen hot dogs. So
frozen
hot straight. Dogs. So yeah, that's too much.
That is too much. Sarah, we appreciate a few minutes. All good here in Albany. I know things are well with you, and we enjoy your work. Thank you for coming on for a few minutes here on Big Board Sports in Albany.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, thanks for having me.